Hi friends, this is Simran. A very warm welcome to all of you in my channel The Recipe Hut. As promised, I am back with another bread recipe which is 100% whole wheat, no egg, no refined sugar and no yeast. The bread that we are going to make is super simple. You don't need to proof it, no need of a bread machine, and it is going to be so soft, spongy and delicious. Due to the lockdown, yeast is not available at many places and I got so many queries asking on how to make a bread without yeast, so I thought I'll make a video on the same and share it with all of you. Let's see what all ingredients we'll be needing. 3 cups of whole wheat flour, that is atta, which we use for our regular chapatis. 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, approximately a teaspoon of melted butter. We will brush this on our bread and it will give a nice shine to it, but this is optional. 4 tablespoons of olive oil, or you can replace it with any vegetable oil of your choice. 2 tablespoons of honey. If you don't have honey, you can replace it with maple syrup or any sweetener of your choice, or if you want, you can completely skip it. You will also be needing 2 cups of buttermilk. We'll be making the buttermilk using 2 cups or 500 ml of lukewarm milk and 2 tablespoons of regular white vinegar. And I've taken half a cup or 125 ml of extra milk. The amount of milk you will need from this will depend on your flour. I'll be updating the ingredients and the written recipe in the description box. If you want, you can check it out. Before we start making our bread, we will preheat our oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. We will start by preparing a pan in which we have to bake the bread. I am using a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. Brush it with some olive oil or any other flavorless oil of your choice. Sprinkle a little bit of flour. Spread it on all the sides. And now we'll turn it over and dust off the excess flour. Doing this step will ensure that the bread doesn't stick to the pan. Since I'm out of parchment paper, I am not lining it with it, but if you have it, feel free to line it with that instead. Now we'll make the buttermilk. For that, I have added 2 tablespoons of vinegar in 2 cups of lukewarm milk. Keep this aside for a few minutes. Meanwhile, sift all the dry ingredients. For that, I've taken a big sieve and adding whole wheat flour. Add baking soda, baking powder and salt. Sift everything well. Doing this step will make sure that there are no lumps in our batter and it will also aerate our mixture. After 5 to 6 minutes, you can see that our milk has curdled and our buttermilk is ready. To this, add olive oil, honey. I forgot to give it a mix, but it's a good idea to mix it after adding the honey. Make a well in the center and pour all the wet ingredients to the dry ones. Mix everything well, but make sure you do not overmix it, otherwise we'll end up with a hard bread. At this stage, while mixing, if you find that your mixture is a bit dry, you can add the milk that you had kept separate. I added approximately 1/4 cup from that milk. But one very important thing to keep in mind is after pouring the wet ingredients to the dry ones, we need to be very quick because the reaction between the buttermilk and the baking soda and baking powder has already started. So we need to mix it really quick and put it in the oven as soon as possible. Transfer this mixture in the greased pan we prepared. The consistency of this mixture will be slightly sticky. It is not like a regular yeast bread that we make. Spread it nicely. If you find that the batter is sticking to the spatula, brush it with a little oil. That will help the batter to not stick and you'll be able to spread it better. Now I'm brushing it with some melted butter. Doing this is optional, but if you do it, it'll give a very nice color and shine to your bread. I'm covering it with an aluminum foil and I'll be removing it after 15 to 20 minutes. Doing this step is completely optional, but I like to do it to prevent over browning, because sometimes what happens is it'll become brown from the outside but it is still raw from the center. Now this goes in a preheated oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius for approximately 40 to 45 minutes, but the time might slightly vary for you since every oven is different. After approximately 15 minutes, very carefully remove the aluminum foil and continue baking the bread. But please be very quick while doing this step, because if you open the oven for too long, the bread will not be able to rise properly. After a total 45 minutes of baking the bread, it's all ready. Inserting a skewer to check. It came out clean. That means our bread is well baked. Brushing it with a little more butter. You can see how nice shine it is giving to the bread. Now we'll cover it with a kitchen towel and let it rest till the time it is completely cool. It has been approximately 2 hours and our bread is at room temperature now. You will notice that as bread cools down, it starts to leave the sides of the pan. Slide a knife on the edges and make sure that no side is sticking. After releasing all the edges, very carefully flip the pan over. This bread did stick a little, but after tapping it for some time, it finally came out. If you line your pan with the parchment paper, this step will get a little easier. Our bread is ready. And the best part is we've made it without using any yeast. You can see how moist and spongy the bread is. If you want, you can cut the bread after a few hours, but I like to leave it overnight and I'll be cutting it the next day. I let my bread rest overnight and now it's time to cut it. The texture of this bread is going to be slightly dense than the regular flour bread because it is 100% whole wheat, but still it is going to be very soft and delicious. I'm cutting 1 centimeter thick slices, but you can cut it as per your preference. One very important thing to keep in mind is that we need to let the bread rest for a couple of hours, only then cut it. Otherwise, your bread is going to be crumbly when you cut it. Did you see how perfect our 100% whole wheat, no yeast bread turned out? The texture is so soft, fluffy, and you can see all the pores. That means it has risen very nicely without using yeast. It is super easy and quick to make this bread. Enjoy this fresh homemade bread with some butter, or you can even make garlic bread from it. That also tastes very good. Friends, do give this recipe a try, and if you try it, don't forget to tag us and use the hashtag #TheRecipeHut when you share your wonderful creations on Instagram and Facebook. I just love seeing them. Thumbs up if you've liked the video, subscribe, and also click on the bell icon so you get an update when I upload a new recipe. Thanks for watching.